call to order and start with visitor, Jen is out of town today, so visitor comments. Dave.
Dave, are you here on the item?
Yeah, the other one, but I do have
Okay,
a visitor
go ahead.
comment, which is city council meeting tonight. On the agenda is the sculpture park naming issue. They had their recommendation from Parks and Recreation, which is to keep their new policy in place. And as it relates to Jerry, to wait 2 years to 2026 for that to even be considered. So if anybody has any different opinion or wants to put in a good word on the other side, and that would be because remarks are right before the sculpture discussion on the agenda. I'm gonna be there, so.
Okay, next is approval of minutes for April.
You don't have
22.
them back
No?
from editing, so
Okay,
I was not, but I've been told they'll have them, supposed to be today, so I'll send them out and you can all look at them and have them as soon as we have them, so.
Okay, all right. Well, then the next date is the review of proposed Arts Commission ownership of 6 annual community events.
So can I preface this real
Yeah.
quick? So, Mr. Buck, obviously, what Dave wants to come up, and I think since we're talking about your items here, the Webster Creative Community that Dave was part of, they were here last week. I provided, or last month, excuse me, provided you Dave's email with summary. And then I also provided you the city's event and sponsorship policy. It is not necessarily written about these items. It's written more for events that we sometimes subsidize, things like Piano Fest or the Baroque event that you have all sponsored in the past. It will probably take some modifying of that policy should you decide to take these on, obviously. So, and obviously the council needs to be involved in this decision. So I'll preface things as we go through with, if things that may need to change in your ordinance that authorizes you, and then also in city practice in the areas. But I do want to just let you know that we are having it up here, and then we can figure out if we're making a recommendation to council to take any of these on. So here we go.
All right, well, last month, Dave presented a number of the items that he's actually for them and working on, and with moving, suggested that the commission take on some of these events. I just wanted to hear anybody's thoughts. I also did some follow up, and I should have Dave, I asked him, okay, what sort of reach, how many attendees does each event have? So I'm just going through what he said was on the Follow Your Heart held at Conenburg. It's been held on a Saturday afternoon. The reach has been about 40 participants, and he's said that the attendance was about 300. That was really high from Conenburg. We did get that even in.
For two, yeah. Well, it was really crowded. So it's enough.
Are you talking about last year's borough?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
no, the McConnenberg, not the borough.
At the gallery.
Gallery.
Okay.
Yeah, art gallery.
Gospel Fest is 2 hours on a Sunday, reaches 12 different performers, and attendance was about 150. The World Peace Concert was 3 hours. The reach was behind the Garden Cafe, 9 performers with 20-minute sets. Estimated audience said was 300. Porch Fest, 4 hours, first Sunday in October, 27 different performers all over a different area. He said attendance was about 500. Webster Sings, a talent show held in the concert hall at the Community Music School over 3 dates for their auditions, rehearsals, and the talent show. 15 soloists, estimated attendance was 150. And Webster Grooves, a dance band, in, don't know what month, in the Masonic Temple, November, estimated attendance 120. So that might help as well.
I mean, first of all, if I could just add, this is totally your choice. There's no pressure. If you guys want to pass on all of them, that's fine. we're gonna keep doing them. I mean, my interest is that personally, there are a couple things on my radar screen that I want to devote more time to that are beyond Webster Groves. But if you all pass on them, we're doing the 4 this fall anyway, you know, so it's like I don't want anybody to feel any pressure at all. I will say that of the 6 events that we passed on, the 2 that are nearest and dearest to my heart are Follow Your Heart and Webster Sings, because they target the amateur artist community. And I know that there is almost like an underground amateur artist community that people do art and they sing at home, but they don't have the opportunity to do it publicly. And what these 2 events do is to give the amateur artists in our community a chance to get some public recognition, appreciation, and they love it. And so those are the 2 that I really like. It taps into a community that isn't often tapped into.
So to understand your objective, is it just having us endorse it? So sponsored, or were you hoping to for us to take on some of the organizational tasks of each event?
It's a really good question. And again, I'm open to any and all solutions, whether or not you all want to simply endorse certain events. And again, just so you know, 4 of those 6 events don't cost me a penny.
Right.
And that was one of my objectives going in, is that the word community, and we're called the Webster Creative Community, the word community is a combination of 2 words, commune and community, which means to share together as one. And it's amazing, I think, what we can do if we just share and we don't have to spend anything. And so, you know, I love the Webster art stuff, but, you know, for a lot of artists in town, it's $25 to enter. You have to frame your stuff. That's another $25. So you're $50 into it. And it's like, so free was always really important to us in our events. But in answer to your question, I'm totally open to any sort of relationship. If you all would like to take 1 or 2 of these events on, great. Again, if you want to pass on everything, that's fine. They're still moving forward. We're still doing them. It's just that, you know, if you all have an interest in being a part or taking over any of them, it's totally your choice. And everything's open and no pressure.
Because part of it is the free is great, but it's the commitment of resources, time, the labor that would take.
Yeah, I'm curious, so who else is a champion? Are there other individuals that are really invested in Porch Fest? Other community members who've participated in this that you're reaching out to that could work with us? Yeah.
Well, I could go down the list. I mean, with Follow Your Heart, McCottenburg, Scott Kerr, they're our allies. And they devote and they donate their space for free because they believe in giving back to the community. So they're our ally there. With Gospel Fest, you know, we were at Old Community Baptist Church. Reverend Eric Hayes loves this event. They've got a great gospel choir. And it's like, so we've got a place.
Did he reach out to the other churches, or were they all from his church?
Well, the first year we did it at Emmanuel Episcopal Church.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the Gospel Fest. It's gospel music. It belongs in a Black Baptist church.
Mm-hmm.
And it was wonderful when we did it in April. And so we found a spot, and Eric Hayes just loves this event. It's great for his church. So we don't have any intent on moving it around. On the Peace Concert, which is coming up in September, we always hold it at the Webster Growth Garden Cafe. Gary Schenberger is the owner. So he's our ally there. With Porch Fest, it is totally my own. I love Porch Fest, but I do it 100% on my own because I have a relationship with all of the artists, local artists. And so recruiting them, we already have like 20 signed up and we're targeting about 30 this year. We already know the neighborhood and I'll start walking the neighborhood probably in a couple of weeks, knocking on doors, see if we can use their porches. So it's just me, and it just takes a little time, but I don't spend a penny on it.
Can I go back to that as an example?
Yes.
So you knock on the doors, but then there's a poster or some, how do you advertise for it and who does that? And, are there other?
Well, for all of the events, as you see, the main poster work is done. So all we do, like my brother is a graphic artist down in Dallas, Texas. He does all of our artwork for free. And like now that the main graphics are done, like I'll send Tom the information on the Peace Concert. Tom just put it in, send it back to me, and then I post it online on Facebook, email blast. With her Kirkwood Time gets it, the Friday page gets it, etc. And so, but it's free publicity. Again, it's free publicity, and again, because our goal is not to spend money, but to share. And there's just a lot you can do if you just share and use free stuff.
I guess a sense of the manpower required for each of the events. That's because you said you want to maybe free yourself up to do some other things. So for us to understand what either we need to recruit manpower or find it within the commission, that sort of thing. So just to get a good estimate of what we're talking about.
Well, I can go down through each of the events, but it's just not. It's not hard, and one person can do it. I mean, I'm just saying, it's like with the follow your heart. What I do is that on the flyer, I say, contact me a week before the event and text me your 2 paintings, which they do. So I get a list of who's entered. They come back a week later, turn their artwork in. The show's the next day. It's just not complicated. And so we try to keep it really simple. And I'm pretty simple. And it's like, I just, pretty simple. And we just kind of make with Gospel Fest the same way, choirs, soloists, get back to me a week before the event. Let me know if you want to be a part of it. We put them on the agenda and the program, and we run the event.
But with each of them, well, it's short term.
Yeah.
You have a rough idea of how many hours you spend or somebody needs to spend coordinating it, because that's what we would need to consider and find.
That's good. I never really thought about how much time it takes for me. But now that these events are up and running, it's less and less time. I mean, it's like, it's just, and it's putting the flyers together. My brother does the artwork. He sends it back to me. I post it. And then I just sit back for a month and wait for people to sign up. And when they sign up, then I do a program and then we're off and running. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's a good question, but it's not like I'm spending 3 weeks total every day sweating this out. I mean, it just isn't that. And part of my goal in all this stuff was not to make it overcomplicated, was to make it simple for not only me, but simple for the people to be a part of it. You know, for the peace concert coming up in September, you know, I just sent an email out to like 30 artists who I know, who's available, who wants to play. And we've got 8 really good candidates back, and that's the set. And they're going to play on September the 8th, and they'll be on the program and they'll be on the flyer. And then we just show up. I mean, I'm not, you know.
So the venues where they
Yes.
take place, I know that Porch Fest is, it's always changing
Changing,
venue
yeah.
and it's private homes.
Yes,
But the venues, are they interested in taking on responsibility for coordinating and also, because, like if you think about Gospel Fest, like some choirs disband over time, so you need to do some. So
Right.
there may be things that are, because it's been going on, it has a system and you have your regulars, but then to keep something alive, you also have to continue thinking about it, doing research to identify new ways to bring people in. So those venues at the church, the commercial spaces, are they interested in taking the resources and the information that you've put together already, and would they be interested in taking it on? Because that may help us to narrow down if this group is interested, then maybe we can be like, ooh, Porch Fest, which really doesn't have a venue, a place. That may be something that this commission would want to do, would want to continue.
It's exactly what I was kind of wondering too, if the venues weren't, and then your stamp of approval or whatever, but if we focused on one that really allowed us then to get out in the community and be in each of those neighborhoods and tell them what we do. Right.
And it'd be a great way to recruit new members to this, to be
It's
like,
Porch Fest being one, but not taking them all on, because we are worried about labor.
yeah, no, exactly.
And for you, it seems so natural. Yeah, I just get out and I make a thing and we do this thing. And they text me. You know, it's amazing what you've done. But same way, maybe focus venues and see if we can help them there to take it on. And we focus on one as we talk.
I mean, I think on the venues, for example, Webster Sings, which is the amateur singing thing, is always at the community music school in the concert hall. That's one where we do have to pay a rental fee. And I pay 100% of that. It's a way that I can give back, a little bit financially, given the other events are for free. To your really good question, yet they would not take on this event. I mean, they are the venue, but they're not the promoter, if you will. Same thing with Webster Grooves, which is held at the Masonic Temple. It's a great venue. It costs a little bit of money, not a whole lot, but they wouldn't take on promoting the event. I mean, they're just a venue. So
okay.
you got to find somebody to take that over. Yeah.
That's important, because we have to budget for things like
Yeah.
that. Are those the only two that have a?
Yeah, the only two that we have to pay some money for, and I think in total of the two events, probably about $1,000, but to me, it's worth it. It's and they come at the end. They both come at the end of the year because we have to be inside, and but the other four are really, they don't cost anything except time, and energy to help set them up.
How do you, with the, Porch Fest, how do you choose your performers, and you just know them? Do they, try out? Are they just,
Yeah, well, all the performers we know through the Webster Groves Garden Cafe, because every Friday, Saturday they have bands. And so over the last several years, I've gotten to know a lot of bands, a lot of groups, not only musically, but personally. And I've attended most of their concerts. So when this event, so I've already put out a word on Porch Fest, and you know, we've done it now for 4 years. And so I just sent an email out to everybody that's participated over the 4 years to say, here's a date, who's in? And again, we've already gotten 20 back and we just started. And, you know, because people, they love this event and
They do.
they don't get paid. They just put a tip jar out. But it's not about the money for them. See, this is the thing about the sharing is that they love it because they love the community. They love it because they get exposure to a lot of people. And it's just fun. It's just fun to play on somebody's porch for a couple of hours. And some of the bands play for 4 hours. They go from 1 to 5. So, to answer your question though, I know all these people. And so, you know, when I send out an email, you know, hopefully there's some credibility behind it and history. And like I said, with Porch Fest this year, it's the Sunday afternoon, October the 6th. And we already know where we're going to be. We're going to be in the Northwest Webster neighborhood. We'll be west of Rock Hill Road for the first time. And we will specifically be on 3 long parallel streets. I mean, the location is perfect. It's Foot, Lee, and Bacon. And they are 3 parallel streets that are long, relatively flat. And if you drive up and down those streets, those wonderful homes, wonderful front porches. I mean, I won't have any trouble because Porch Fest has a history now. And people like being a part of Porch Fest. And so I know we'll get the porches lined up and then we assign people to times and places. And then we're off and running. We don't have to say that, you know, Porch Fest was started in 2007 by 2 women in Ithaca, New York, 2 neighbors. And some Porch Fests have like food trucks and wine trucks and all this stuff. See, we don't do any of that stuff. People can come and bring their coolers. Some people bring their lawn chairs because if they see an artist they really like, they can camp out in the front yard. It's solely focused on the music.
Once you've signed
Yeah.
performers to houses or
Yeah.
to porches, do the bands bring all their own equipment and what
Yeah.
sort of communication goes on between the homeowner and the band? Is that you? Do you just put them together and let them do it? Because I just want to know how much.
And also coordinating
here.
the schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah, I coordinate the entire schedule and I know where each group is going to be. But I basically through email link the homeowner and the band together. And it's their responsibility to contact each other. And a lot of the performers, you know, will say, will request, can I drive by your house to see the porch, to meet you, you know, and the performers know the drill now and they like doing it because they meet their front porch owners and they get a sense of the space and all that stuff. But it's up to them. Yeah, I don't do any of that stuff. I just put them together.
Can I ask, I mean,
Please.
well, first of all, I want to compliment you on all these activities because I mean, and your passion for the projects. I think it's really lovely to hear since Webster has done so much in these projects. But my question is, you're increasingly successful on your own. And you're doing really, really well with this. I'm not sure what the advantage to you is specifically of us being the umbrella.
Well, that's a really good question. Here's my answer. And what I said up front is if you all pass on everything, these events are still going on.
Right.
I'm still going to run with them. But selfishly, and I think I said this the last meeting, we sold our house on South Elm and there was a few weeks or a week where we thought we might not live in Webster anymore. And therefore, let's hand off these events to Webster Grove. We're going to be in Webster. We love Webster. So I'm not leaving Webster. So that's why I am fine. If you all pass on all of them, we're to keep doing it because I love these events. But the reason that I'm now kind of hanging them off are twofold. One is that I believe in the Arts Commission, and if you might be considering adding a few events on to things that you do throughout the year, here are some options, and would be happy to either work with you on them in partnership or to simply turn them over. But again, that's totally your choice, you know. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be doing these events if I didn't love them, and at least two of them are selfishly motivated. Janice knows I like to draw cartoons, and so the amateur art show was selfishly came from me because I wanted to show my stuff publicly. Same with singing. You know, I love to sing. I sang in high school and musicals, and so when Webster Sings, I'm one of the participants because it's a chance for amateurs to come out and sing. But so anyway,
Dave, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is Beth Corelli. I'm working again in the background at swim practice here. But Dave, just again, thank you for presenting all this and doing all this. I love your events, and I haven't gotten to Gospel Fest yet, but I really, really appreciate what you do. But first of all, I'm thrilled to hear you're saying in Webster Groves, and I think it, you know, and in my opinion, that it's what you've built up is so incredible. And if you need support, and if there's ways that the Arts Commission can help you support some of these events, I certainly would, you know, be happy to volunteer time or engage with, you know, more promotions, or maybe we could help sponsor the venue costs to take that off your plate. I mean, I think that would be a very worthwhile endeavor. I do think that some of the reason these are so successful is because of you, because of your just like enthusiasm and charm. And so I would hate to remove you from the process of some of these, because I think you really, people know you and they love you, and you really inspire people to get involved. So, I mean, in my opinion, it would be wonderful to try to work in partnership with you on some of these. And maybe if there's things that need to be added or things that the city could help with in terms of arrangements or flow or accommodations that we could work towards, I think that would be great. But I also would, now that you're staying in Webster, I would hate to remove you, because I do think you add so much to a lot of these events. The Follow Your Heart, my kids have participated in for 2 years, and they have just like had a wonderful experience. And I don't know if like Mokaugeton Burr is ever feeling like it is a lot of work for them, I'm sure, to execute that. But that to me seems like something too, if they did feel like it was too much to host in their gallery, that we could find a space maybe at the rec center or the library and make it, you know, something that maybe they help support and sponsor, but don't have to take on the burden of undoing an entire gallery and redoing it for the show. So that's just one thought.
And then I think, I guess to add to that is that if this really is something that it's time to really start thinking about passing the torch so that it can continue, is to take the next year of these events for identifying other additional volunteers who could, you know, like we could possibly be a hub for like holding on to this information, so that like we would have the record with city councils, like these are city council, city staff, like that these are email lists, these are the past communications, these are things, so that there's an archive that as we identify more volunteers to champion it going forward, we could sort of be an archive of that information. But I don't, that would be my recommendation.
Just getting a sense of the history and really honing down on what it takes, what, you know, what are all the resources in terms of your contacts, in terms of the venues, in terms of time, in terms of, and cost to us, given that not maybe everything wouldn't be free in the future.
Although I heard your statement that you want it to be free and open as much as possible to the public.
Well, I think only because, well,
And to the artists.
Yeah.
Right, right, I was just thinking
Yeah.
the cost
Yeah.
to
Because
the committee.
Oh, yes.
The commission
Yeah.
cost.
And we can think of it in chunks. I mean, do we want to simply, sponsor or have our name affiliated? And B, sort of what you were suggesting earlier, we may identify individual events that in the initial time period, we could be more actively and then sort of look to the future for now at the point where it needs to fully be taken over. So-
yeah, I mean, you all could be a free sponsor. And again, this is just my bias and it can change. But it was important to me that our events be free. I just don't
Yeah,
want price
I don't disagree.
to be a barrier for entry.
Right.
And particularly the amateurs, you know, and it just, because as an amateur artist, I've tried to enter some of the gallery competitions at Webster Arts. And it's like, number one, they charge me $25. Number two is like $25 to hang. And then they don't let my stuff in because they don't like cartoons. And so it's like, so
I feel your pain.
so we're gonna put on an event. So we're gonna put on an event where it's totally inclusive. You know, I mean, it's on Western Sings and on Follow Your Heart. It's not unlike jury competitions. It's not a competition. Everybody gets in, and
So, in interest of time
Yeah,
on
yeah,
another item,
sorry.
first of all, I'm delighted that you're staying. Because last month it seemed as though,
Yeah,
I was going, and so are these. So, delighted that we're staying. So, do we need to vote on anything or just take all the
So
information?
this, take the information. And so there's multiple factors here to consider. And I think that you need some think time.
yeah,
I'm gonna use
take your
Jazz
time,
Fest,
take
I'm
your
gonna use
time.
Jazz Fest as a great example, right? There is a living question in City Hall.
Yeah.
Who owns Jazz Fest?
Yeah, that's a good.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, and then Dave, I'm not trying to get in the middle of your events here, but let's just say you want to take on Porch Fest, right?
Yeah.
Porch Fest then is the cities, and now that's a whole new world. That's Tierra's time in public affairs, goes through
Right.
branding, all those things, and such. There's also
Right.
all those functions, and then the risk management side. I mean, what do we then take on some liability that's borne on homeowners and such like that, and such. That's fine. We can do all that, but that's not written anywhere, and we need to develop that. So we need a sense of which way are we pointing the train, so that if we're gonna work around that, we can get the policy recommendations to back it up alongside that. And then also just firm commitment of you all. I mean, it's, for the commission events, right? I mean, I think of some events where not many members show up, and that's fine. Not lambasting it, but it's, it's your time, right? I mean, we have some staff time to put into that, or is it gonna be a city staff driven event? So,
May I ask a question relating to all of this? What is, from this group's perspective, a city-based event that is a signature event for the city? Meaning like, not Webster Arts, not the fair down the street, not attached to another arts organization. It is a city event that we would call in the community a signature.
Or the parade.
So I just wanted to ask that question. It's
Yeah.
like, I don't know what number 2, 3, and 4 is, but
Mhm.
it's not an arts and culture.
So city events, to boil it way down, real simple. The 4th of July parade. Are run and operated by the city, the fireworks, obviously. There are all the parks and rec events, so I'm just gonna lump them all in one. There are many different the pools and that kind of stuff. Juneteenth is a city event.
Right.
But you really now you get to that question. So Old Webster Summer Night Street Dance, is that city event or is that the trade association's event? I mean, it's city money flowing through, but whose event is it? Jazz Fest doesn't even flow through that organization. We hold the money, but it's not on our budget. It's in a separate liability account. Is it the committee of 8 people or does the city run it? So, I mean, just.
I asked it from a brand perspective. I asked it from a resource perspective, right? So it's like if it's city branded, right? That like we associate this with the city. It's like, yes, the Lions Club, yes, Webster Arts Fair, but those are other nonprofits, those are other organizations that are integrating into it, which are good to have those partnerships. And I think they would fail otherwise, but I think about this question in terms of this umbrella, right? And that if you take a Porch Fest, which I realize is a brand that has been established.
Yeah.
And integrate it under the city's umbrella, what does it do to that? Does it improve it? Does it worsen
That
it?
was what is the advantage to
Yeah.
it becoming a city thing versus a you thing? And your allied thing.
But I think you suggested that eventually you might want to give over some of the events that's making you.
Yeah, I mean,
withdraw your
I'm totally.
participation.
I get that too.
Oh, but it's a good question, you know, if the city endorsed, the Arts Commission endorsed this event, would that draw more people? Would
Yeah, is there an
would the
advantage?
attendance be greater because of
I
that?
don't know that we do a whole lot of things to get 500 visitors,
Well-
so maybe we would not draw more.
I do think there's also future planning. You talked about succession planning. The moment the city starts backing up something, even just with a little sponsorship, when the folks who run that, when Dave decides now that it's time to leave Webster Groves or, you know, move on from the events, pretty soon the expectation comes back to City Hall, right? And so
Yeah.
being clear with where we're going in terms of the future, even just, you know, 5 years from now, where does Porch Fest go and what's the organization's involvement? Help set the expectations for community rather than why aren't you guys doing this thing? Why haven't you picked it up and done it, right? And so, which I'm not saying we can't do, we can do, but it's also, no one's ever asked that question of us. It's just
Yes.
thrown as an expectation back,
Who's doing Baroque, the concert on July,
the
the
parks.
Parks and Rec?
No, Parks, Walter and Margot.
They're just doing it on their own?
They do, that's all they
So
do.
it's an independent
Get
event.
Permission.
Yeah,
They get permission, but
They
it's
get,
not.
they get a permit
endorsed.
like
Okay,
this. Yeah, so.
gotcha.
Well, maybe lifetime.
Lifetime achievement.
Lifetime achievement,
Yeah.
yep, lifetime achievement is, yep. And
And
then
we've done some October. things.
the Piano Fest. Or-
Well, Piano Fest.
Yeah, Piano Fest,
And
yeah.
and it really is piano, I mean, we've done Piano Fest as a permitted event, like, so is that, you know, that's really one, is
Yeah,
that the
yeah.
city's or is that, you know, another person's event and, you know, that we're
No,
permitting?
no. Cause
So,
in the city of St. Louis, you get a permit to coordinate an event and it is not necessarily the city of St. Louis, but you.
I think that
Yeah.
distinction, you know, we look at July 4th, the parade, we don't give a permit to because it's parade, right? But we give a permit to the Lions Club to operate, you know, and use Eden and create that public space event, so.
Well, here's just a comment. You know, I'm moving forward on the 4 events in the fall. So those are happening.
Yeah.
The last one in the middle of November, which is Webster Grooves. The next event, Follow Your Heart, doesn't happen until the middle of April. So take your time. You have a lot of time to think through this and figure out what's right for the Arts Commission. And again, I'm very open, very flexible. And, you know, these events are going to carry on whatever you all decide. But, you know, if there's an opportunity or an interest, I'm totally open to it. The other thing, just so you know, that's driving me personally is mortality. And I had a really good friend, in fact, Jim Pappy Sherburne, who's the leader of the Unusual Suspects, which are a really good local band. He passed away last week at 71 from diabetes. I'm 71, I have diabetes, and it's like, you know, I just want to make sure from that standpoint that these events carry on, you know, and so.
We're adopting. Yeah.
And again, the last point is just know that I'm a real believer in allies, you know, in our small little group, but like on Follow Your Heart, McConver are our allies. They would probably fight you if you said you wanted to move it to another. They love this event and they love giving back to the community and they don't charge. And it's really not that much of a hassle. They put those things up really fast, take them down fast. You know, and the same thing with all the events. I mean, there are allies that we have, including the community music school people, et cetera. So, you know, and those people are in place and they have as much invested in these events as we do, as I do. So they're part of the team.
Thank you. Any
Yeah.
other comments here? Thank you very much for.
Yeah, well, no, thank you. I mean, I really, it's like, I know this is like new stuff and just really just, we got a lot of time, take your time, whatever you decide is fine, so.
One final, next month for the commission, do you want this back on the agenda to sort of talk about the
Yeah.
point where you're pointing? Okay,
I had to go through more of this stuff.
certainly. Yeah. So feel free to read through that. If you have questions about the policy, shoot them to me.
Digestion.
It takes digestion. Essentially, think of that as a policy that helps like the parks for Baroque. Because you say you sponsored at the Arts Commission, then they don't get cost for city services that help, go towards that. Whereas a race that may not be sponsored by the commission has to pay for barricades, it has to pay for officer time and
Okay,
such like
I
that.
understand,
So,
yeah, that's the.
Yeah.
that's the help.
Yeah, see, the one event that we do this is, well, it's a non-arts event is Webster on Wheels, which is our longest term event since 2009. And it is the only event that we do where we submit to Eric a special activities permit. We get 2 policemen, stuff like that. So,
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Dave.
I may stick around just a little bit.
On to old business, comprehensive. plan.
Comprehensive plan, just wanted to make sure, is there anything anyone feel like they didn't get into Lakota group in their conversations from last month? I have contacts for them all. I can send them out to you so you can send them more things and ideas if you have, but I wanted to double back and make sure you all had adequate time on the comprehensive.
Can I add one thing to that? I know I'm a visitor. But it's like you all should check out Yellow Springs, Ohio. It's a town of about 5,000. But they really embraced the arts. Publicly, they paint fire hydrants, buildings are painted. I mean, it's a really creative, colorful town, and I think we can learn a lot from them.
to answer your direct question, can you tell us what follow-up we will get with them going forward?
Yes,
That's more of a thing for me than the meeting time right now.
So they're accumulating the conversations they had with you and with other commissions and the community and such into the first draft. I don't want to call it report. It's not a report,
Understood.
but it's a synopsis of what they've learned and the sort of how that builds the next part of the plan development in September to city council. So that's sort of the feedback loop that you're going to be having from that.
Okay, and we'll be privy to the
Yes,
draft.
yep, yeah, well, it'll go to council and such, so it'll be a public document. So,
Okay, great,
yeah.
because we don't know if they heard us until we see what they say.
Sure, yep,
In truth,
Yep.
so that would be the most important thing, I think.
totally understand.
Okay.
Public art plan.
Which speaks right to number 2, so the public art plan. So that is pending before the council, before it's with the city manager right now, the request that Alex filled out. We want to be very clear because I interpret it one way, the mayor interpreted it a whole different way. So I want to make sure we're very clear with everyone
Okay.
going to the city council. So the plan document is not yet final. This is not a plan ready for adopt this council as the master public art and culture plan and such. Is that correct?
I would say that it's to be used as an outline for the
Comprehensive plan?
comprehensive master planners
Okay.
as they get together their information.
So the presentation to council then, so let me posit all that you just said. I agree with all that. We're all on the same page there. That ultimately you would have still a plan document, your plan that you've got some well put together would be a subsidiary plan as well to the comprehensive plan.
I would prefer, okay, I'm speaking for everybody here now, but I would prefer that that the planners take that document and integrate it into the master comprehensive plan document.
So I think that is important for September, but also remember comprehensive plans may not have site selection necessarily in all those places, like all the granular places that you may have a.
Site selections are relevant. In terms of like public art, in terms of like specific cultural events, etc. Because I think we're talking about a holistic umbrella and ideology of the city of the arts and how that kind of plays into it. I think it's also, most importantly, that it's strategic and that it's integrated into a practice of who we are as a government or a community. Additionally, I was just talking with Rick about this, that there's resources allocated towards it. I don't care whether it's both private and public, but that is, yeah, I was just, let me answer it by saying this too. I was just kind of looking at the Regional Arts Commission website, and Judy's familiar with this, of course, is they have all these talking points about economic development in communities and what it does, right? So the data speaks for itself, right? That like in here, it's like every person that goes out to an arts and cultures event, they spend an average of $35.74 per event, and then they're paying for childcare, they're going to a restaurant, they're doing whatever, they're creating vibrancy within the community. So not only dollars, but also aesthetically, that's what it's creating.
The only thing I would also add, that might be a subset of specificity is I think we very clearly identified some places where there is not much attention. And I think, I felt like this group was really emphatic that we needed to spend time improving and artifying
So I
a
am,
lot of other
yeah.
places in town.
I am certainly not a planner. I'm not the, but I know comprehensive plans well enough to know that kind of material is gonna really come through, you know, I mean, what are the needs of the subset community and such? Where I was more concerned and where I think we still are gonna need a subsidiary plan, because there's gonna be even a subsidiary economic development plan is,
Okay.
when we talk about resources, they get so umbrella 30,000 foot, 50,000 foot on the comprehensive plan that sometimes the resources are part of the implementation plan and not part of the master plan assumes the resources to get where we want to go. And so I'm not saying that's what's gonna come up, but my point being is that
This is what I would say by that, is that I don't know what's gonna come out of the
Right.
master plan, so I can't be informed.
no, that's, so where I was going is, I think your request to present to council is not, this is our plan, adopt it. It's, this is where we are going, what we want to see in the comprehensive plan, but also then for the pieces that aren't, what we think we need to have as city policy and priority and strategic direction behind. Is that, so I just want to make sure we are on the same page, what's in front of council. It's not the final legislative product for them to approve. It is,
That's my thought. It's not the final.
that's what I thought.
legislative
So,
Product
Yeah.
that requires approval. And I think it's more, if we, we've been talking about this for a while, but it's like, I think it's more so, it's like you're getting in front of council just to be able to have that presence and advocacy.
Well, to bring it out,
Mhm.
you know, and make it more in the conscious brain than in kind of the unconscious
It's a
brain.
request for a public conversation, public record.
It's also this idea that like, I talked about branding again, right? It's like, okay, it's City of the Arts. We always throw this around. It's on banners, it's whatever. It's like, it's soft language. Are we the city of warmth like Brentwood? Are we the City of the Arts? Who are we? You know what I mean? Like, it's fine. Maybe the master plan creates that, but like, I would advocate that we are the City of the Arts, and here's why, right? It's like X, Y, and Z.
no, I want to clarify and get that intentionality of the request to be in front of council so that we're clear with council on what the purpose is and that we're not in a final document, you know. Look,
I wouldn't
I didn't
be
think so, but I
requesting
want-
any votes or approvals of any sort.
Yeah, it's, we want to be clear on those kind of things, because also then if you're talking about the resource allocation and you have a final document, well, what does that mean, right? It takes a whole new level of,
Absolutely.
what
not there.
what does that resource allocation mean compared to other needs long-term that the city may have? So, you know, all those things that we'd have to prepare. So we want to be clear.
Like in terms of these sites that you mentioned, right? It's like, okay, if there's this site, maybe in this master plan, it's identified as this particular, very specific site that needs attention. Is that history attention? Is that art
Yeah.
attention? What are you
Yeah.
doing to it? It's like,
Yeah.
how do you integrate these practices into
Exactly.
it? Is it like?
Well,
you give-
implementation is the hard part.
Implementation. Do you provide the
As a
opportunity to an
person.
artist? You provide a resource, what do
Somebody's
you
gonna
do?
design it, somebody's
What's
gonna
the end?
draft it, somebody's gotta allocate the funds, somebody's gotta budget it, somebody's gotta manage it, somebody's gonna install it. I mean, it's like, yeah,
Right.
obviously. Yeah.
Right, but at first you have to like set kind of like an overarching,
But if you don't have
It
that,
has to be in our vision.
it has to be like on the radar.
it has to be on the
It has to
radar.
be on the radar that like, look, I have a abandoned, we talk about this theater all the time. We have this theater, right? It's like, how do you activate? by all
Thank you.
senses of the word. How do you
Absolutely.
activate and engage the community around it? You do it through awareness, you do it through dollars, you do it through whatever. You know?
There we go. That's what I need.
Eric, so here's my
Yeah.
question. Are we presenting tonight or are we
No,
gonna
no,
present?
no,
Okay,
no,
all right.
you're not on tonight. So that was,
Taking
that was,
this off
sorry,
my-
thank you, that's important. So that was part of the back and forth on the question was, you know. Because the plan looks in some ways, you grab it and you're like, oh, it's an executive summary, here's the plan, you know, is this gotta be fully costed and, you know, what are we looking at, you know, all those things. I'd agree with you. I think the mayor was like, what do we need to be in front? The mayor was literally asked, what do we need to be in front of the council again for? And it was, you know, one of those, let's, you know, internally,
Yeah.
make sure we're all on the same page. Yep, so.
But we want it to be professional enough and accurate enough and real enough that it does have that legitimacy. That's a good thing, that the
Mhm.
mayor or others are talking about it. It's like, look, this is obviously legitimate and it's serious. It's like, that's a good thing.
So the departments are in review of the preliminary, I'm gonna call it the preliminary plan, so let me just use that term. They're all in that process of review that we do, so they add a stack of memos behind yours, you know, that goes to the city manager, and she adds a cover memo, and that goes to council. Now you get the whole, like,
Yeah.
here's the city review of what you've all talked,
Yay.
and such, so. Yeah, it is, I mean, it's helpful, you know,
That's
things
good
Public
news.
Works thinks about as engineers on right-of-way acquisitions and spacing.
Yeah, and I don't think, you know, just to reiterate this point, it's like, I don't think we're to the point of implementation. yet. I think we have to understand, it's like, it has to be ingrained in the identity of like the government and the community that public works, parks, that all departments kind of integrate into arts and culture in these different ways. They probably don't even realize they're doing it, but it's like, but they are. And the strategic plan or the comprehensive plan is strategically telling them that they are. You know, and then at some point you gotta go, okay, I don't care where the money goes. I don't care if it's going to public works, I don't care. But resources have to be allocated appropriately to go, we can do a Porch Fest. We can do we can do a X, Y, and Z, or we want to do a Porch Fest or something like that. So, and I don't think that's necessarily there.
Yeah, I think it's a thing of when things are coming up, that's a bubble in the back of the, I wonder what the Arts Commission would have to say about this, you know, before it goes.
Yeah, Randy.
And then son, I have to leave, our grandchildren in town. We're getting a tour by the groundskeeper of some field. I just want to report that we're still working on Catherine Mogul doing the repairs. She and I have just played phone tag, and actually I owe her a phone call back. So presumably we're supposed to meet in April. We are going to go look at the bird to determine what needed replacement and then also talk about what she could do for the base. So that's still in the works.
Hey Judy, can I just ask real quick, you know, the bunny and the after hours, I heard those were contractual and that the time was up. And that they were gonna be turned back in, is that right?
Time isn't up.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, we bought the bird. The other two are loans more or less, but not to us directly, so they're complicated situations, but no, I don't think we're anywhere near time being up.
Okay, got it, thanks.
Anything else?
City Arts banners, real quick, they are in the process of selling, they are struggling to have, struggling to make sales on them, so we are committing some staff time to go with them, on some of those sales to help reaffirm the cityness of it, and it's not a fraud. I don't know what the outcome of this is gonna be, if they end up saying that we don't have much support for, you know, sponsoring the banners, then we will pivot and go to a different route, so.
Name request comes up tonight. Anything else you wanna say about that?
I don't need anything. Councilmember Franklin is here for the city update as well, sort of rolling into the same thing. So why don't we just pull that together? Councilmember Franklin?
I was just gonna say, we have on the agenda tonight for city council, the renaming of the sculpture park after former mayor Jerry Welch. So I would encourage anyone and everyone that is able to participate, come in and express your preference as to what the council does with that. Obviously, I'm in favor of it. I'd love to hear more citizens come out and support it in hopes that we can get this passed.
David, if some of us cannot get there, is sending an email to the
Yeah,
council
sending an
members?
email, you can join via Zoom, you can join in person, whatever is most convenient for you. I think council, the more, council hears from people, the better though.
The email is citycouncil@webstergrossmo.gov. Is that simple? I'm sorry.
Does anybody else need to reach out to former members like a Patrick Murphy or any of the others, or should it just come? Probably enough. There's probably not enough time for anybody else besides. council. But I just mention it because they were big advocates too.
You know, Maryland.
Councilmember, was that on the regular session, correct?
That is on our regular
Yeah,
session.
so it's a legislative item. It's not the work session. They're actually have votes scheduled. So if you're going to speak, you'll need to speak during the public, there's not a hearing on it because it's not a hearing item. So you'll need to speak during the comments from guests and visitors. on the agenda.
I think it'll be a tough sell. Unfortunately, but you know, it's not a lay down hand that they're gonna name Pastor Jerry, I don't think.
Anything else?
Anything else from David?
Nothing further for me.
Okay, next meeting, July 2nd.
Not July 2nd, August 6th.
August.
My fault.
Okay,
I was, every meeting I go through it, I'm change the date, forget to change the date.
okay.
Do you anticipate, Eric, that we will present?
You're gonna likely be in August.
Okay.
August,
I'm out of town, August
well, there's,
1st to the 11th.
there's two August meetings, likely probably gonna be the 2nd, I guess, just looking at the preliminary schedule. But I'll circle back with the mayor and the
after
city
the-
manager. Yeah.
It's due after you want me.
Well, and so,
And we do, but yeah, we should be with you too.
Yeah.
and to the point, I may end up reaching back out, Alex, what you just said, boil that down into a paragraph for me to say, to make sure the council has a framing document on top of the matter. Here's from the Arts Commission, the request to speak is related to this. So,
Yeah. Anybody else can go in my stead. I'm just letting you know. I'm out of town.
Anything else?
Lifetime achievement in the awards. I don't want to get into it. I need to leave, but we did have the back and forth email.
Yeah, and perhaps next month when we have time to discuss it, we can
Yeah, we should put that as a
put
priority.
that as a
you want a
priority.
priority?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Absolutely.
If there are any times, agenda things you need priorities, just email me. So, and.
Yeah, that's worth a discussion.
Absolutely.
Got it?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion second.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we're adjourned.
Thank you all.
Thank you.